Okay, so here we are in the knife section down here. I'm actually kind of disappointed with the lack of selection, but it's still a good little overview. So, one thing that's becoming more and more popular are the knives that don't have the points on them. For an outdoors knife, you kind of need that because it helps you do a lot of different things as far as woodworking goes, and even skinning animals. It helps to have a nice sharp point to be able to slip it in. So I would stay away from these. It's more of a gimmick than anything. You lose a very powerful point of a knife, so literally and figuratively. A lot of people in their outdoors kits put multi-tools, and I don't really got a problem with that. They're not great for any one thing, but for smaller odds and ends things, they do actually help from time to time. Not as much as people think. This one's $64, 34, 49, 19. I've seen ones that are $150. Like, there's no point in going that high because it's not that important. Something that else is becoming popular as far as everyday carry are little multi-tools like this. They have a little blade that slides up, and right here, and they also got a pry bar type thing back here. There's a couple more down here. And they're just basically a razor blade with a pry bar on the end, and they're becoming more and more popular. Some of them also have an additional little protruding point here that's a glass breaker. There's, for an outdoor kit, I'd stay away from those also. I would go with a fixed blade over a folding knife any day of the week, like this one, because generally fixed blades are a little bit thicker and you don't have the weak point of the locking mechanism like you do with folding knives. Okay, and a lot of good quality fixed blades will have these basic finger guards. See, you're skinning an animal, you get blood everywhere, you're less likely to slip your hand up and cut the crap out of your fingers, because that could be a pretty serious cut, especially if you're out in the middle of nowhere. A lot of outdoor ones are coming with these strikers, different models of strikers. This one comes with also a knife sharpener, but this is a folding knife. They do come with heavy duty sheaths, which is always good. So I'd prefer, if you get a fixed blade, at least as your primary, I'd like a heavier, bigger fixed blade. And I would also stay away from any of your outdoor knives, or any knives in general, from having the serrations here. Those are completely dumb and pointless. They're for looks. Everybody says, "Oh, they cut meat better." Like if you're using on somebody, no. If you keep a decent edge, it's gonna cut. Ones like these, more for hacking, and chopping, more for heavy duty work. As you can see, they're like closer to machete style. Let's go down to some of these others. Excuse me. Companies like this are going towards just overly large shit. It's supposedly a survival spear. Obviously mimicked after Gladius. They're basically the same function as machete, but they have a better quality point, whereas the machete has the more rounded, so it's harder to thrust into something, and that's going to be far better at thrusting things, but you don't really need those. It's a gimmick. They actually have a Tomahawk here, but this is one of the styles that I actually tell you to stay away from because it has a point back here. Ever do any chopping, woodworking, or even moving around quickly with this, you're likely to gouge out yourself with this back end. Like, I've seen people do it, even people who claim they're experts at using them. They're not really. Another one that's pretty popular is the Bowie Stein style knives. Overall, Bowie style knives are decent blades. Large, smaller, weaker people, people with wrist problems are not going to be able to handle these as well. Well, especially this one, because this handle is a poorly shaped handle, poorly designed. It's made for fatter hands. So I think with this one, I would even have a little bit of an uncomfortable feeling manipulating this. But it does have the finger guards. You know, it does have a good point. Yeah, as long as you keep the edge sharp, it's good. This one would be, just from its basic design, it would be a better one to use as an outdoor knife. Nice and thick. You see the thickness there. The handle, you know, nice little shape. Comes to a nice point. It has enough weight to where you can do some heavier stuff and it's not going to break, and it's helpful. But it's also small enough where you can easily do other things. I recommend having a larger knife, you know, either this size all the way up to that size, and then having a smaller knife to do a lot of the finer stuff. So 2 knives. Stay away from ones like these that come to they're basically dagger points. So they're fully bladed on each side. They're great at thrusting. Like if you personal protection knife, that'd be great because you can thrust so freaking easy with this damn thing into a person. You know, these are becoming fad styles also, where they have they're basically either folders or they look like fixed blades. This one you handle it like a fixed blade, but they have these razor blades basically that you interchange as one gets dull, and they're starting to sell these in different styles to where you don't have to sharpen them. You just throw the blade away and get a new one and slap it on. And they even sell the blades separately, you know, because this one don't have the knife on it, just like this one. I think this one actually this one goes to that blade. So if you run out of the ones in there, you just go buy new ones, so you never have to learn the skill of sharpening, which is idiotic in my opinion. So I'd stay away from these. Never had anybody who used these have good reviews on the locking mechanism, and plus the blades are so flimsy and thin that, you know, you can't sharpen it too many times before there's nothing left to sharpen. These neck knives are good. They're something decent to start children with. You know, it's going to fit their hands better. They're going to be able to control it and not likely to try to hack anything with it, which, you know, until you learn to control a knife, you know, that's always going to be a high potential for injury. You know, just like with the multi-tools or these right here, the Swiss Army knives. So this is a great way to introduce kids to knives, the responsibility of it, not hurting yourself, you know, when you have the blade open, keeping people away from you, so when you're working on things, you know, you're not going to cut them, and you can focus on what you're doing, not be interrupted, so you're not likely to cut yourself. Let's see some of the other ones they got here. We got, again, pointless for outdoors knives. These again are folders. You know, Cold Steel has a few of the larger folders. You notice how long these are compared to a lot of these other ones. These are more for concealed, like you're going to be in your pocket. These are more for, well, you can use it for an everyday carry on your person, but you want something bigger if you're going to be using them outdoors. Buck knives, they have been around for a while. They make, good looking knives. I like the look of this. I like with this particular one, I've handled these. A few of my buddies have them. They feel good in my hand. If you have a bigger hand, maybe not so much. I'm 5'9", so I'm about average size. And I know people with smaller hands than me that handle these and they hold them just fine. With the point, I'd like the point more center line than it is in this design. You can see how the center line comes up. The center line's about here, and the point is to one side of it. If the point's on the center line, it just thrusts into things better. So it's a preference and a recommendation, especially if you're relatively new to handling knives. I have a couple of these. This one's just basic stainless steel. The ones I have are, let me get that shine off of it, high carbon stainless steel. So they hold the edge better. This one I've used dozens of times to skin elk and deer, even a bear with it, and relatively easy to resharpen, nice, cheap, effective, and I like that finger guard because your hands get super bloody. So, what else did it got down here? This is one people recommend. Never really liked that design, but some people love it, some people hate it. It's fixed blade, stacked leather handle. Apparently a lot of Air Force members use one similar to this or this one. It's called a survival knife, but I wouldn't use it. It is high carbon steel, and for those of you who don't know the difference, high carbon steel compared to stainless steel, high carbon steel, it will keep its edge better. It'll keep a sharper edge, keep it longer. It is more difficult to sharpen. You just got to be more precise with it, which takes experience. And with the blood, the water, the dirt and everything, high carbon will rust a lot faster. Everybody says stainless steel does not rust. It does. That's bullshit. It does. And I can show you several of the knives that I've tested that have been rusted. They stain at first, and then over time it eventually rusts away. It looks a little bit different, but so if you don't know how to take care and clean your stuff, stainless fine. Like, a lot of people knock it. I don't, because it's beneficial for its place and purpose. Like this is an old style design right here. This is a folding knife, what's traditionally called the pocket knife. Just be super careful because this company likes to polish the handles slick, and with no finger guard there, you get bloody. You're more likely to cut the crap out of your fingers. And I know people who have knives like that, and they take a coarse grit sandpaper and scuff it up. That takes care of some of the problem, but not all of it. These are great knives for teenagers too, to get them started. They have a little bit bigger edges than the Swiss Army knives, as you can see. The blade's completely bigger than the whole thing. And I like a lot of these because with like Old Timer and this Case Company, they make some of these that are specifically edged and designed for woodworking, for like whittling projects and stuff like that. So it's great. They're tools designed for a purpose to help people learn and get better at doing woodworking, which is fantastic. Because being in outdoors, that's what you're going to do. You're going to use wood. Some more buck knives, same fashion. And so you can get tiny ones, you can get the bigger ones. I've even seen ones this big, but with multiple blades on there. So it's all about your preference, what you like. These old timers. Let's see. There's a few more that I've had in here, but these ones like this that are specifically designed for skinning. So this one's a high carbon stainless steel. They're small enough, they maneuver real easy in your hands, so when you're getting inside a big animal that you can't just necessarily flip over, they do help out a lot. Gut hooks, as long as you know how to sharpen them correctly, those are fine. I tend to stay away from them though, but that's just a personal preference. Like this one's just a gut hook and nothing else. Gut hooks, everybody says they're just for the gut. No, you can actually use them, for skinning out through the legs and stuff like that. And then pulling the hide off, you're not going to cut the hide off with that, but you can at least do your initial lines and everything. Again, these are similar to the camp axes over there that I said stay away from. They're flimsy, they're small, they're pretty much useless. Just like this one's designed for throwing. That'd be a toy you'd get a kid when you're teaching them. I actually have this one right here. I have two of them. Again, great for skinning. Nice, small, easily maneuver. You got these ones that come with flashlights. If that's the one you want, go ahead and get it. You have entire game processing kits. All these tools just make certain parts easier. Don't get it for your outdoor kit. If you want to have one for your car, your vehicle, that's fine. If you're going out hunting and want to have it specifically for that, that's fine. But your outdoor kit, you're carrying all these knives with a limited function, and you're not going to be using them for woodworking to make other tools and traps and other things like that. So, not super important to have that in your outdoor gear. So this is a bigger, thicker one, fixed blade, gut hook, obviously made for hunting only. One of the things you need to take into account is the blade design, right? Because with most blades, they bevel down, and then at the end they bevel down again. Okay, that's the standard design. And if you get good at sharpening one of them, like you're good at learning at sharpening at that particular angle with others. That's why some people get sharpening kits. So let's see. Yeah, these like things like these to sharpen with, because they automatically hold the angle. Not these are just basically the same as flat stones. So get things like this or these all do it at a specific angle. So if your blade does not naturally come with that angle, it's going to damage the edge. Not damage it as in it's no longer useful, but they're going to change the angle of it, which, depending on what you are using it for. You want to, for my woodworking knives, I want a different angle because it's going to slide and cut nice thin slivers off of wood. So I'm taking small chunks off at a time so I don't take too much. You can always take more off, but you can't put wood back on that you took off. So you don't want to gouge into it, and you want it to be nice, fine little shavings. And what's on a lot of bigger knives and stuff like that, do not do that. So you kind of tailor your knife to what you're doing. And so I use like Mora knives, which I I was surprised they don't have any of them here. They're cheap, 15 to 25 bucks. You can get higher end stuff that are more expensive, but those blades on those are designed for woodworking. Not really much else, but they're great at woodworking. And so I'd have that for woodworking, and then get a bigger outdoors knife for other stuff. Again, stay away from the serrated edges. You don't need them. Stay away from folders if you can. If you have a brand that you particularly like, that's fine. But definitely stay away from these. Again, it's just a toy for kids. Adults can play with it too. And I'm actually surprised they don't have flat stones. Yeah, the electric sharpener. I'm surprised they don't have flat stones, because everybody should learn to use a flat stone. Like, some come with it, but that one comes with it also. Let's see. Yeah, not a whole lot do anymore. It used to be a standard thing back in the day that they come with many. They're coarse stones, so you're not going to use them unless you damage the edge and you've got to reshape it. The ones with the leather case, if you do it right, you can actually use the leather case as basically like a strop. So that's doing is, once you have your blade designed, it's putting that very, very, very razor sharp edge on there. So that's why I like the ones with the leather case. It's because if it ever starts to get dull, I wipe everything off of it, and I use the sheath, I should say, not case, to refine the edge. And nice, quick, and easy. Stay away from the gimmick stuff. Try to stay away from the folders. Definitely stay away from the ones with serrated edges. And there's no point in having packs in your outdoor bag. Absolutely no reason. You can go online and find like flat stones, wet stones, ceramic stones to resharpen your blade. I tell people to get a strop, because a lot of people, if they just strop their blades, then it's going to resharpen it razor sharp to where you can shave. But after a few times, you're going to need to kind of redefine the edge depending on the style of edge that's put on there. So choosing a knife, like, it's definitely a personal preference, but depending on what you do, what you like. If you're not sure what to do, just get a fixed blade and go ahead and get something similar to that, similar in design, similar in size, and or even something like that, because that works great for skinning, but you can also use it for woodworking, and you're good to go. And get like a Mora knife for your really fine woodworking, your trap making. Stay away from the multi-tools unless you really want one, and definitely stay away from these utility ones. But other than that, wish there's more here to kind of point out the pros and cons of a lot of these. But if you're not sure, you can always shoot me a message. I can give you pointers. There's probably 3 or 4 here that, if you're standing right in front of me, I would tell you to get. Those would be 2. Excuse me. That one and that one. All basic ones. It'll give you everything you need until you get more skilled and understand what you're doing, in which case you're going to know what you want, what you're looking for, what you like. And what's great is, unlike what you see online, where knives are $150, $200, you know, $30, $30, $30, $29. So they're all fairly cheap. So it's easy enough. I would recommend this one right here, except for the serrated edges. That kills it automatically because it's decent design, nice grippy handle. It's a synthetic handle. It comes with the fire striker, got some finger guards, and got some heavy duty sheath for it. So that would be good if they take off the serrations. Other than that, the serrations ruin the knife, as in my opinion. There's no valid reason for having it. Absolutely none. When you're trying to do fine woodworking, like this part of the edge down here is what you're going to be using, because you have the maximum leverage. It's the most efficient. You have the most control, especially when you're holding something with one hand and cutting with the other one. You want to have control. And plus, when you're trying to do certain things like traps and, you know, even something a little bit more complex, like other tools, making other tools using wood, these are going to put gouges in the wood so it doesn't sit flush and right, and you don't want that. It's completely pointless. It ruins it. And for skinning animals, it doesn't give you any benefit. Absolutely none whatsoever. And if you're cutting up meat, you know, granted, it doesn't matter what it looks like, but it's more appealing to the eye when you have those nice clean cuts, you know. And you got to give yourself some satisfaction after a good hunt, you know. You got your meat, you got everything cut up, and you want it to look nice because it's just more pleasing after a long, hard day work. You're exhausted and starving. You're waiting for this food to cook, and it just makes you feel better when it looks nice. You know, it's about presentation. Not necessarily, but it does make you feel better. And you know, if you're in a survival situation where you're lost or wounded, you know, anything you do to make yourself feel better is a good thing, because it keeps you calm, keeps you from panicking, and, you know, gives you another reason to keep going. But that's a quick run through of these knives. I'll try to stop at a different store tomorrow and record another video if they have a wider selection.